And here we are. Hello, everybody. Hopefully this is going out and you can hear me and see me. Please let me know if it is. I'm going to switch over to the chat. Paul's here, Tom's here in the chat. So yes, please let me know if you can hear me and see me. And then we'll crack on with tonight's live Q&A. So hello, everybody. Yeah, no screen though and no voice. Yeah, it should be working fine now, although there is a 30-second delay. So I'm here talking, saying hello. Vicky stood in the hallway with the laptop, and it's going to be 30 seconds before she appears. Is it working? Not yet. Not yet. It's not working. Although it looks like I can see it. Yeah, let's just go on to here. And thumbs up. Thumbs up. It is working. So that is good. Let's just move that down a little bit and across a bit. And there we go. Right. So hello, everybody. My name is Paul Grogan. This is the Gaming Rules live Q&A for August 2019. Just in time. Because it's the last day of August today. This is August 31st. Hello to everybody who is watching live. And also hello to everybody who is not watching this live, but who is watching this afterwards, who wants to hear me basically answer lots and lots of questions. I have had a lot of questions. We are going to be here all night. So I hope you're sitting comfortably. Rick's here as well. Hello, Rick. Yeah, I've had lots of questions in advance. So thank you very much to everybody who's asked me all of the questions. I have all of them written down. And yeah, so the audio is working. Is the audio working, in fact? Yeah, people can hear me. Because I haven't pressed the buttons on this. So I just want to check where the audio is actually coming from. Tools, settings, audio. Oh, it's picking it up from there. Right, no, hang on. I need to switch the microphone over. So presumably the sound isn't very good because it's not using the microphone that I've told it to. I'm now going to switch it over to using the proper microphone. There you go. I don't know what it was using for the microphone. No, that's not plugged in. It may have been using the microphone on the camera. So apologies if the audio wasn't good, but hopefully the audio is now better. I have now told it to use this microphone. I hadn't basically enabled it below. So yeah, hopefully that's working fine. Rick's saying no chat on the screen. No chat on the screen. Right. Let's go into the chat viewer, settings, chat. I need to authorize it. Hang on, I've started a new thing. You didn't let me know that the chat wasn't working. I need to try and remember what my Google thing is. I think it's that. I need to authorize XSplit. Is that it? No, that's not it. Oh, I know what it is. It's that. Yeah, I've redone XSplit, so I basically need to authorize XSplit to use my YouTube channel, and then there we go. We have chat. And I can see the chat, much better audio, and Chris asks me if we're having pizza tonight. Right, now, we're not having pizza tonight. What are we having? Chicken tikka masala. Yeah. So I'm just going to go into the chat and make it a little bit bigger. There we go. How's that? Bit too big? There we go. Right, let's do that. That should be fine. So, again, welcome, and thankfully the audio is now all sorted. I don't know where it was picking the audio up from. It was probably picking the audio up from that camera there. I'm going to go straight over to the questions that I've had in advance, which I've got written down somewhere on a list, which I have put somewhere. Right, Vicky's going to disappear. Are you going off to cook dinner? Yes, I think that's a yes. Right, let's just get the questions in advance. Where have I put them? I've put them all in a Google Doc. I only got back from Taunton at 5:30, so it's all been a bit flustered getting all of this done in time. Right, here we go. So, yeah, thank you very much to everybody who sent me questions in advance. The first one is from Paul Bryant from Games Law, sponsors of the show. Thank you very much, Paul. Many of us know that you love Formula One, but don't know what sports you played or enjoyed in your younger days. And why did you or didn't enjoy them? So I didn't enjoy sports in my younger days because I was not very good at them. I was the person who was always picked last to be on teams in sports. And I was not very good at sports, so I didn't really play them. I did do a little bit of five-a-side football when I started working, because there was a team that played five-a-side. But again, I wasn't very good at it, and I'm not very fit. So yeah, I'm not really a sports person. Chris asks, aside from Jaffa Cakes and ice cream, what are your favourite domestic and foreign food and drink? So, food, I'm not really a big fan of English food, probably like most English people. Mexican is probably my favourite, although I do love Italian as well. We've got a Chinese around the corner, which is really nice as well. But yeah, probably Mexican is probably my favourite food. Drink-wise, I basically drink a lot of water and a lot of milk. I don't really drink much else. I don't drink much alcohol these days, but when I do, it's probably some kind of fruity cider, like a pear cider or the Strongbow dark fruit cider. That's quite nice as well. Yes, so that's those two questions answered. Next, Chewy wants to know, what's my most anticipated game for me personally, as opposed to professionally, for Essen releases? Now, this is an interesting question because personally and professionally for me are kind of all blurred into one. The game that I am looking forward to the most from Essen is from one of my favourite designers, Alexander Pfister, and it's Maracaibo. However, I'm likely to be professionally involved in it as well. And this is where the lines get blurred. I'm personally interested in this game because Alexander is one of my favourite designers and the game looks right up my street. It looks like it's going to be, possibly my favourite game that came out at Essen this year. But because of that, and I have a sort of working relationship with Alex, and it's been co-published with Capstone Games, who I have a professional working relationship with, I'm probably going to end up doing a video for this game as well. So again, any game that I'm personally interested in, of course, I'm going to be speaking to the publishers and saying, do you want a video for it? Because I'm going to be interested in the game anyway. So yeah, the lines do get a bit blurred, but that is Maracaibo, Alexander Pfister's new game, coming out from DLP Games and Capstone Games at Origins this year. Next question is from Tony Simpkins, but also Tom Wakefield. I've kind of merged these two questions together. Tony says, have you ever played a game a few times and hated it, but later replayed it and thought it was great? If so, what was the game and what changed you? Was it the people you played with or changes to the game, like a rules or an expansion? Now, Tom also asks, are there any games you've disliked on your first play and then after a few games gone on to really like, and vice versa? So, Tony's asking me if I've ever played a game a few times and hated it. If I hated it, I probably wouldn't play it a few times. Not these days. Vicky said something earlier on, which is absolutely true, which is you've got so many games that why would you spend your time playing ones that you don't like when there are 200 games in the other room, which I would play right now if I could, because they're great and I love them. So why would I play a game that I disliked? I have done it before, in case I felt, wait a minute, everybody else seems to like this game. I didn't. Maybe it's me. Maybe I need to play it again to see what I'm missing or what I've got wrong. So there's a couple which come to mind. And one of them I will refer to you for my review of Magnastorm, which on my first play, I didn't hate it, but I didn't enjoy it at all. And all of us around the table really didn't enjoy it at all. But then I played it again and I really enjoyed it. And if you want to know full details, then check out my review of Magnastorm for why. But basically, we all went into Magnastorm because it's from Furlanspiel, so we thought we're going to go into a nice, meaty, Terra Mystica, Gaia Project style game. And it's not. It's like a 90-minute game that's very streamlined, very cut down, and we were all a bit disappointed because we came away going, is that it? And then when I played it again with the mindset of, this is a 90-minute short, streamlined game with some really interesting decisions, I really enjoyed it, and I've played it twice more since, I think. So that was a game which changed my mind. Another one which I want to mention, and this is going to be surprising, I think, for you. The original Vinhos. Now, I have a lot of things tied to the original Vinhos. First of all, I bought the original Vinhos and it was my introduction to Watch Your Game because I saw the artwork, I saw the board, I fell in love with it, I thought this is amazing, and that started what is now a friendship and a professional relationship with Watch Your Game. And it was from literally seeing the board and thinking, this is the kind of game that I'm going to like. It's also Vital Lacerda, who is one of my clients and has become a friend over the years, and I do a lot of work with Vital. And I'm saying that I don't like the game. Now, the original Vinhos, I really wanted to like it, and I kind of did, but I just didn't get it. I couldn't play it. I couldn't do it. It just didn't work. And then
probably about 6 or 7 years ago, I was like, okay, so Vinhos, I get it out every year. Maybe not 6 or 7 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. I get it out once a year and I play it and I don't get it because, I mean, I understand the rules. I just can't get my head around it. And I play with Rob Turner, who always just smashes me every time because he makes the right decisions and I just can't seem to do it. It's like Pipeline. It's a great game and I just can't seem to make the right decisions no matter how many times I play it. So with the original Vinhos, what I did is I played it once a week for about 3 weeks in the hope that I would be able to learn and get better and stop getting frustrated at how bad I was at the game. And I just didn't. And in the end, I just said, I'm never playing this game again. It's not that I hated the game. It's just, I just could not do it. The new Vinhos, I think is brilliant and I love it. So for me, new version of Vinhos, yeah, definitely all the way. There's something about it, just those few tweaks, for me, yeah, it just seems to fit. So, and then they both want to know, well, Tom wants to know vice versa. Any games that I really liked when I started playing, oh no, that's Vinhos. Really liked when I started playing it, but then went on to dislike, and vice versa is probably Magnastorm. The other one to mention as well is the Pathfinder adventure card game, which those of you who are on the Slack channel and have followed my live streams know that I'm playing this a lot at the moment. I have played it now, 4 or 5 times, something like that, and I've been doing live streams of it the last 3 times I've played it, and I'm really enjoying it. But the first time I played that game, and although it was the first edition, it's not that, I absolutely hated it. And I one of these days, I might do a video on changing gaming taste. I was going to do a podcast as well. What's changed is me, but Pathfinder is extremely, extremely random. And yet, I am really enjoying playing it. So it's me, I've changed as a person, I've changed in what I've come to accept and everything else. So anyway, there we go. Hope that's answered that question. Let's just pop over to the chat, see what's happening. Let's try and answer the questions in the chat while I can before they disappear. PowerFade11 wants to know what's your favourite epic Euro game 3+ hours. I'll come on to that in a minute because 2 other people have asked me what is my favourite game, and my favourite game happens to be an epic Euro game that's 3 or more hours. So I'll come to that in a minute. What is your favourite fast Euro game that makes you think less than 45 minutes? Oh, God. I wish you'd have asked that question ahead of time. There's loads. I mean, yeah, I like to play short games that make me think. I don't want to play short throwaway games that don't really have much thought process in them. I still want crunchy, thinky, decision, important games. People can tell me in the chat what 45-minute thinky Euro game do I really like. Please let me know, because there are probably lots of them. I just can't think right now. Although you've said under 45 minutes. I mean, Copenhagen's really good. I wouldn't have said that's my favourite. I've played it the most recent, so that's good. Nielsen's here. Hello, Nielsen. Really excited for Maracaibo. Only recently discovered Great Western Trail and Mombasa. Yeah, Great Western Trail, my joint favourite game of 2016. Mombasa, my favourite game of 2015. Alexander Pfister is just awesome. David's here. Hello, David. Thank you very much. John Sullivan, great T-shirt. Yes. So I went shopping this afternoon and I bought some new clothes for the first time in 20 years, I think. And I saw this T-shirt and I thought, I'm going to buy this. And then I thought, it's the live Q&A where I am giving away tonight to one lucky viewer who is watching this live £25 worth of games vouchers from Games Law. Thank you very much to Games Law for sponsoring the show. I should have really put the Games Law thing on the I should have put Games Law on the banner. I'll tell you what, let's do that now. Let's show you how easy I can do this. Well, let's try and talk at the same time. I shouldn't really do this. So basically, what you need to do is send me an email, and the email address is paul.grogan@outlook.com. And if you are a patron supporter, please mention that in the email as well, because you will get 2 entries into the prize draw. And I want you to say the chosen one, which I think is what these people, these little green men, I think that's what they said when the hand came down and grabbed them. I said, oh, the chosen one. So send me an email with the chosen one. And as I say, if you're a patron supporter, mention that. And then what I will do is I will basically, at the end of this show, or probably after dinner, I will basically go through and pick somebody who has won £25 worth of game vouchers from Games Law. And if I have got this right, I'm going to do this nicer next time. But if I do this and then this, and then this. This is riveting TV, isn't it? Just watching me do this. But I'm really starting to get to grips with this piece of software, and I want to just see how easy it is that I can do something like this live. Can I do it live? Now, I think, no, I'm going to have to switch to that. Don't look, it's not the one, and then switch back to that, and there we go. So I have added the Gameslore logo onto the bottom panel while we were live. There we go. Rick's saying it was the claw. Okay, well anyway, I've told you to send me an email with the chosen one, but if you say the claw instead, that'll be fine. Basically, send me an email, paul.grogan@outlook.com. £25 worth of games vouchers from Gameslore is up for grabs, but you need to be watching this live. The email needs to come in before the end of the show. Otherwise, I mean, every month I get emails 2-3 days afterwards. Once I got an email 2 weeks afterwards with the password, with the word, and I'm like, yeah, I've already done the draw. Anyway, let's go back to the chat and let's catch up on the chat. Have you played Camel Up? And if you have, what is your strategy? I played Camel Up once and I didn't like it. I didn't like it because, and it's the reason why I'm not too keen on Alchemists from CGE, which is an awesome game, but it's not for me. And the reason is I get really uncomfortable making decisions on partial information. And in Camel Up, you're having to guess and predict, and you're having to bet on what's going to happen, and it's outside of your control. Don't like that. It gives me personal anxiety, and I don't want that in games. So that's just me. Chris is saying that I'll be playing Munchkin next. No, I won't be playing Munchkin. Definitely not be playing Munchkin. Brant Sanderson says, I feel about Sword and Sorcery how you feel about Pathfinder. Sword and Sorcery. I don't know what that is. Let me know. Gloomhaven is still better to me as it's so strategic and choice oriented, but I'm completely obsessed with Sword and Sorcery. I'm completely obsessed with Pathfinder right now. It is an obsession, right? It's an addiction and it's an obsession, and it's a completely random game. Well, it's not completely random. I mean, you'll see if you watch my last live stream where I didn't succeed in the scenario, but then I realised, what should I have done? I should have sent this character here. I should have left that one there. This character would have explored, and before they went, I knew that the villain did acid damage beforehand. So my Goblin Alchemist should have given my Elixir of Energy Resistance to the rogue before. There's all of that things. I could have done that. They are decisions that I could have made during the game, which would have impacted the result. There's a lot of it that's massively random. Anyway, yeah, let me know what Sword and Sorcery is. Rick says it's a dungeon crawler game. Well, I quite like dungeon crawlers, so let's check that one out. Not that we have much time. Right, Paul Luxton, answer to the previous question. Euro games that are thinky that I really enjoy. Mini Rails. Mini Rails, fantastic game. Definitely a Euro game. Very thinky. Yes. Brian says, is Mage Knight fun solo in your opinion? More fun than Pathfinder solo? Fun? I mean, Mage Knight is by far the better game because it is a lot less random and it's more of a puzzle and you're really in control of what you're doing, and there's a lot more decisions that have a meaningful impact rather than in Pathfinder. You can make all the decisions and then you roll the dice and you're screwed. Or you shuffle your cards and you don't draw the ones you need. Yeah, so I would say, I mean, Mage Knight is by far the better game. And also, in Pathfinder, I find that you need 2 to 3 characters because you will need a variety of skills and characteristics and abilities and everything else. You know, I mean, if you come across a location that needs a strength check to close it and your character's got a D4 strength, you're rubbish. So with multiple characters, you have all the bases covered. In Mage Knight, that's not the case. You can play Mage Knight solo and it will still work. All the characters cover all of the bases themselves. So I think it works better. Which is your favourite solo mode Euro game? I'm going to talk about solo mode in a minute. Tony's here. Hello, Tony. New clothes. Are you still sick from Gen Con? I still have a cough. It's really annoying. It's not really a cough anymore. It's more, when I think about it, it's become a habit. So I still have a little bit of a cough. Otherwise, no, I'm fully recovered. And boy, did I realise it this week when I was suddenly able to do stuff again rather than feeling awful. Still waiting for Brass Birmingham to restock, says Stephen Barkby. Right, are there any board games you think should be adapted into movies? Yes, All of them. I mean, Anachrony. I'm thinking off the top of my head here now. Anachrony. Wow. You know, with modern special effects, that game would be incredible. So yeah, there's lots of games. Throw your suggestions in the chat about games that could be turned into movies. Arkham Horror. Arkham Horror the movie. Oh my God. Yeah. I'd definitely watch that. And Fantasy Flight Games are producing a Marvel LCG later this year with superheroes in. That'd be really good if there were superhero films based on the Marvel universe. Yeah, that would be good as well. Right. Tony's saying, I love the shirts you tweeted earlier. Yeah, so I went shopping this afternoon and my plan was, as I say, I've not really bought clothes for 20 years and all the shirts that I've got are all solid plain colour because that's what I do. I wear solid plain colours. And I went shopping to buy more shirts that weren't just a solid plain colour. And the ones that I saw in the shop, check out my tweet. They were absolutely awful. I can actually put them on screen right now if I could work out how. Anyway, right, let's go back to the questions. We have questions in from Rick. With your exciting foray into live streaming, which I've been doing a lot of, who would be your chosen famous person, living or dead, that you would like to live stream a game with? Now, I asked Vicky this question earlier on. The problem with me, one of the problems with me, is I'm a realist rather than a dreamer. So straight away, I was thinking of who would I be able to get into here to play a game with, rather than literally this is never going to happen, but pick, if it could happen, who. So I went into that and I started thinking, and I've come up with a list of Lewis Hamilton, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, and then actually there would be loads more. And who would I like to live stream a game with? And it's these people because they've probably never played games. And, you know, as Vicky said to me, I love introducing games to people to show them, you know, those games that you think are games, like, you know, Cluedo and Monopoly, right? Well, actually, there's another world out there. It's these. And I love introducing them and being able to introduce games to a famous person who isn't aware of the hobby, just for them to go, oh, wow, that was actually really good. I really enjoyed that. That would be really cool. So yeah, pretty much, I mean, famous people who I respect, a lot of actors I really respect. People like Gary Oldman, I think he's an amazing actor. Brad Pitt, Guy Pearce. Who else? The other guy who was Bones in the new Star Trek. What's he called? Anyway, him. Australian guy. I think he's brilliant as well. So yeah, famous actors. And which game? So it would probably be a co-op game. And it may be something fairly light and simple, but I also then started thinking about Robinson Crusoe, because Robinson Crusoe is the kind of game, as long as one person knows the rules back to front, then pretty much the other people don't really need to know the rules. They just need to know, what do you want to do, Lewis? Oh, you want to go over there and gather food? Yeah, I want to go and gather food. Right, well, there's probably a good place to gather food. What do I do now? You roll those dice. Right, okay. So a game like that where you could, you know, basically feel them. Dread. Yeah, the guy who was in Carl Urban. That's it. Yeah, I think he's a brilliant actor as well. So basically, actors who I think are really good. And Scarlett Johansson as well, for different reasons. Right, anyway. David Digby. Top tips for preparing for Essen. Yes. Don't over-prepare and don't under-prepare. There you go. Now, what I mean is, some people print off the list of all the games that are coming out at Essen, have a big plan of where all the booths are, and literally fill their entire time that they're there with, right, at 9 o'clock I'm going to go to this booth, at 10 o'clock I'm going to go to this booth, at 11 I'm going to go to this booth. What you will do is you will miss some of the hidden gems. But if you under-prepare, you're just going to walk around in a daze for 3 or 4 days and miss stuff. You need to get the maps, you need to get the exhibitors list, you need to do a bit of research. Well, you don't need to, but you probably should. What games are coming out? What games do you definitely want to look at? But then make sure you leave enough time that you will be able to just have a wander around and spend time in the other halls. Go into halls 5, 6 and 7, which are the smaller publishers generally, although 6 had some quite big ones. Have a browse at those. There might be some really good games there. You're going to have to wait for games. Don't go up and expect to get a table straight away. Top tip, what you do is you go to a busy booth, like CGE for example. The booth's always going to be completely busy. It will be absolutely packed all of the time. You will not be able to turn up and get a demo straight away. What you need to do is you need to hang around. So what you'll do is you'll be there, you'll see it's busy, you'll just politely ask somebody, do you know how long you've got left? And if they say 10 minutes, you say, do you mind if we play after you? And they'll say no, and you wait around. You literally have to just wait around by the table, and then when one person's finished, you sit down. If you just go round wandering, waiting for a table to come free, you will never find that. You're going to have to wait. Take food. There is food available, obviously, on premises, but the queues can be quite big. And yeah, try and get much sleep. Right. Let's go back to the chat. Scott Hill. It's going to be a sock-related question. You know that. If you could play any game with any designer or any publisher, what coloured socks would you wear? So, the socks that Vicky has chosen for me are the black socks, but they say Mr. Charming on. So there you go. These are the socks that I would wear when Lewis Hamilton comes round to play Robinson Crusoe. There we go. David Digby wants to know, now that you're playing more solo games, more on that later, what do you consider to be important elements in a solo experience? Do you prefer automa types or challenges or puzzles? For me, it really depends on the game. So I was going to play the other day, and I was going to do a live stream of Valley of the Kings, which I quite like. It's a little deck builder game, and I was going to play the solo game. I then started playing the solo game downstairs just as a bit of a practice to see how it would play out. Stopped after about a third of the way through, and I've decided I never want to play this as a solo game because it does not capture the feel of the game at all. The Valley of the Kings solo game is basically a little puzzle game where the abilities on the cards don't really have any effect whatsoever, and all you're trying to do is move cards around, and you've got to get one of every card in your tomb before the end of the game. But pretty much none of the card effects actually work. So you're not really playing the game. It's a totally different experience. It's like a little solo challenge puzzle using the components of Valley of the Kings. And I didn't really like that. So, I quite like Automas because it feels like you're playing a game with another player. I remember playing the Anachrony solo, which was quite good. I've yet to play the Sierra West solo, which I do want to do because it's set up here at the moment. And people have said that's quite good. Yeah, right. Back to. I need to be sitting this way a little bit. Right. Yes. Back to the chat. What have we got in the chat? We have Toby saying last year halls 4 and 5 were brilliant. So yeah. Now, hall 1 is all board games and big publishers. Hall 3 is big board games and publishers. Hall 2 is a kind of weird mix. There are some publishers in there. There's a lot of role-playing stuff in there. There's a lot of LARP stuff and things like that. 4 and 5, I can't remember 4 and 5, but Toby said, oh no, 4. Are you sure, Toby? I thought 4 was the Galleria, which has basically got the bouncy castles and all the food halls. I think that was 4. Right. Ray Davis, is there any interest in a monthly Paul's House Rules? I do a lot of house rules, and my house rules have become a little bit famous because they've got their own entry on Urban Dictionary. If you go to urbandictionary.com and look up Groganized, it actually exists. It's on Urban Dictionary. I didn't add it on there. Somebody added it on there. And it's basically to house rule a game to reduce the random element and improve the strategic choices. So Ray's asking, would there be any interest in a Paul's House Rules? I keep meaning to do a geek list of here are all my house rules because I've got so many for so many different games. And Ray's basically saying, should I do one every month? Paul would pick a game or two, say what house rules he plays and why. I mean, I could do a series of videos. The problem is with house rules, I mean, I was worried with my City of the Big Shoulders review that people would come online and start slating me for it. I was really worried about it. As it turns out, the response has been 99% positive. There's one guy on Reddit that basically said, what you're saying is factually incorrect. And I'm like, no, it's not. But anyway. Whereas house rules, I know every time I post house rules, I get a lot of criticism by saying, no, Paul, you're talking rubbish. The game's fine as it is. And that's okay. You know, Stone Age with average dice. Nusfjord with getting the C cards at the start of the game. Power Grid playing with the top card of the deck visible so that at least you can see what's coming next rather than it be random. I've got loads of these house rules, but there are a huge number of people that would disagree with them. And I don't know whether I want to subject myself to that. Second question from Ray. Any news from What's Your Game on Brazil? if I knew, I would tell you. I keep asking. This game has been one of my most anticipated games for 3 years now. And the last time I spoke to them, which was on the beach in Exmouth a few months ago when they came to visit, no news on Brazil. They're still working on it. And I'm like, Do you house rule Signoria? Yes, I do. I think Signoria should be 6 rounds instead of 7. I think 7 rounds is too long. I think 6 rounds is perfectly enough for the game. So what I do is the end of round scoring tile from round 7, I make that an end of game tile scoring for everybody, which you don't have to qualify for. So here is a tile, here's an objective. At the end of the game, everybody's going to score this. That's what I do with Signoria. Right, back to the chat. Have I had anything? Emperor S4, we're in Hall 4. Emperor S4 have done some really good games. I need to contact them actually because, yeah, they've done some really good games. Realm of Sand, for example. I think that's Emperor S4. So yeah, they were in Hall 4. Maybe I'm getting confused between Hall 4 and the Galleria. I am. Tanya's here. Hello, Tanya. Nearly forgot. Better late than never. We are 18:35, so it's time to announce the competition since Tanya's joined us. If you are watching this live, please send me an email, paul.grogan@outlook.com, and you will be entered into the contest to win £25 worth of games vouchers from GamesLaw. All you need to do is send me an email with the Chosen One or the Claw. Either of those is good, and if you are a patron supporter, please let me know in the email and you'll get 2 entries into the contest instead of 1. Thank you very much. And Yong Hoong Lee says, loving your live content. I know you're a big Underwater Cities fan. Do you prefer it to Terraforming Mars? Yes, absolutely. I have only played Terraforming Mars once, although I've played it quite a lot online. Underwater Cities, I personally think that Underwater Cities is the better game. That's just me personally. Horrible Games were in Hall 4. Alicat Games were in Hall 4. Shows how much I know. So yeah, I need to look at my Essen map again because I'm trying to picture 2 and 3 go into... I'm going to have to look up the map. Yeah. All these people saying how many people are in Hall 4. Yeah, I know. They're in Hall 4. I just can't picture where Hall 4 is. Yeah, I know 1, 2, 3. The Galleria. Then I know 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know where Hall 4 is. Anyway, back to the questions. Louis Noble wants to know, what do I think of Jaffa Cake nibbles? And I said to Louis, you'll find out tonight because somebody bought me a pack of Jaffa Cake nibbles. I don't know when, and I've forgotten who. Apologies. But I've had these a while, and I've not opened them. So here we go. Vicky's downstairs cooking me chicken tikka masala, and I'm sat up here eating Jaffa Cake nibbles. Right, let's see what we think. Not sure. Just going to have another one. Bet this is riveting TV. This is a live review. Right. Okay. So my review after 2 plays, so bearing in mind, this is only after 2 plays and it's only the solo game that I've played. I prefer these to Jaffa Cakes. The consistency is... I'm going to have to remove these because otherwise they are going to get eaten. Jaffa Cake nibbles, thumbs up from me. And yeah, thank you to who bought me those Jaffa Cake nibbles. I'm sorry, I can't remember. If you're in the chat, then let me know. But yes, thank you very much. Right, Liam Bailey. What is your favourite and least favourite game and why? So going back to my favourite crunchy, heavy Euro game that takes 3 or more hours, Mage Knight. Mage Knight is my #1 favourite game of all time. Why? Oh boy, where to start? So, I mean, Mage Knight is fantasy. I like fantasy. It uses a deck building as one of the mechanisms of the game. One of the mechanisms in the game. I love deck building. It is a fantasy adventure game where you kill monsters, get XP and level up. I grew up playing D&D, so that kind of thing I like. But every game that has been kill monsters, get XP and level up is dice rolling and random. And Mage Knight isn't. Mage Knight is a Euro game. that captures that feel. The game is so clever. There are so many good things about it. One of the best things about Mage Knight is that you can totally customize the difficulty of the game. And many games allow you to customize the difficulty of the game. That's not the major thing. But in Mage Knight, you can really customize it. And then there's a whole bunch of variant rules for you to add on extra bits if you want to. There's so much content in there. There's so much game in there. But the great thing about it is the point system in Mage Knight is based on how many monsters you kill, how much fame you get. So if you increase the difficulty of the game, you are adding more enemies, which means you kill more enemies, which means you'll get more points. So literally, if somebody comes to me and says, oh, Paul, I scored 250 points in Mage Knight, I don't have to say, yeah, but you were playing on easy difficulty, weren't you? Therefore, you did get that many points. If they're saying they got to 250 points, I kind of know that they were playing on a hard difficulty level because you can't get those points on easy. So customizable difficulty level, amazing game, just absolutely love it. And thank you very much to all of my Patreon supporters because I have just reached, as of yesterday, I think, or the day before, the next stretch goal on my Patreon campaign. I will be doing a live tutorial and playthrough of Mage Knight. So yeah, thank you very much for that. And that's coming soon. And I can't wait because I'm not going to be playing in the game, but I'm going to be teaching the game, and that's almost just as good for me. Because I love teaching games. Right, back to the live chat just to catch up. There's lots more talk about Hall 4. Hall 6 was miniatures and wargaming. Are you sure? I thought Eagle Griffin Games were in Hall 6 and TMG were in Hall 6. I might be getting mixed up completely. Right. Tom said he's glad somebody else thinks Underwater Cities is a better game than Terra Mystica. Well, it's because it is. So, you know. Victoria Strickland wants a Jaffa Cake nibble. Well, if you come upstairs, you can have one. Josh bought me them at Bacon. Right, well done, Rick. Rick's got a better memory than me. Josh bought me them. So thank you very much, Josh, for the Jaffa Cake nibbles. Have you tried off-brand Jaffa Cakes and how do you rank them? Okay, so here's a secret. Every morning I have a bowl of porridge. That's not a secret. In that bowl of porridge, every morning I have sultanas, honey, usually half a banana, sometimes a full banana, but usually half a banana, and a Jaffa Cake, chopped up into bits, because it adds this extra, it adds a little chocolatey feel, and it adds the orangey feel, and it just tastes really, really nice. And as of the last 2 days, caramelized peanuts as well. So my bowl of porridge that I'm having in the morning is a meal. It's like 6 things all in it. And the Jaffa Cakes that I have in my porridge in the morning, because they're just getting chopped up and mixed in, are the cheap 29p Aldi ones. So there we go. They're not as nice. They are as nice in terms of taste, but they don't look as nice. But yeah, because I chop them up and have them in my Jaffa Cake, that's what I say. Right, Multimedia Assassin, I meant to say, are there any board games that you would like to see as theme park rides? I don't really do theme park rides. I'm not a big thrill seeker and I don't really like roller coasters or anything like that, and I don't really go to theme parks. So for me, no, not really. But Rick mentioned earlier on Arkham Horror theme park ride. That would be pretty cool. Right, Jorge Oliveira, what is your opinion about Tapestry? There's an embargo on reviews for Tapestry. So I'm not on Jamie's list. Jamie chooses, he handpicks a bunch of people who he sends preview copies to, who get, you know, tens of thousands, you know, they're the chosen people that get to cover the game. I'm not on that list, so I haven't got a copy of it. I don't know much about it, apart from it's a Civ game. I like Civ games. It looks pretty. It's probably going to be expensive because it's got pre-painted plastic pieces. And apparently the rules are on 4 pages. Although there's a reference book. So I really don't know much about it. It would be nice, you know, if I was on the list. What's really odd is that Tom Heath, Slicker Drips, he got a copy of it, which is not a problem. I mean, Tom's brilliant, and Tom deserves to be on that list to get a copy from Jamie. That's fine. But then Jamie could have said, well, once you've done with it, send it down to Paul. Because, you know, that's what, $2.99 in postage or something like that. So, I don't know. It just seems, you know, getting copies of games from one person and then sent to somebody else and then sent to somebody else seems to make sense, really, because then you get far more coverage and you're not having to send out 50 copies to different people. So anyway, yeah, I don't know much about Tapestry. I will look into it at some point. What was the last game that Jamie had that was really... Wingspan. I don't really have that much interest in playing Wingspan. I'm all for games from women designers. I'm all for good gateway games that are being sold in normal shops. I'm all for that. Absolutely. It's just from people who I know who've played it have said the game is a bit... it's all right. And I don't want to play games that are just all right. So anyway. There we go. Have you tried Black Angel yet? No. And to be honest, I'm a bit disappointed because I had meetings with Asmodee at Gen Con, and they said as soon as I get back from Gen Con, they will send me a copy of Black Angel and I'll get to cover it on the channel. And I haven't got a copy of Black Angel. And if they'd have just said, look, Paul, we can't send you one. We don't have one. We'll send you one when it comes out. That's fine, which is actually what they're going to do. But it's the fact that they'd said yes. And they'd even spoken to Sebastian, the designer and the head of Pearl Games, and it was all agreed and I was going to get one. I can wait. It should arrive this week. So next Friday, all being well, I will be doing a live stream of us learning how to play Black Angel from the rulebook, and then you will get our opinions on it straight away live on camera, just like we did last night with Sierra West. Last night, and if you want to see the live stream, we opened Sierra West, we learned how to play from the rulebook, we played it, and we then gave our opinion on it. So I'll be doing that next week for Black Angel. Through the Ages theme park ride. Yeah, that's 6 hours long. Top contenders for Game of the Year thus far. Wow, I haven't thought about that. I have played a lot of good games this year, including Sierra West. I'd have to look back at my playlist, to be honest, and try and remember what games I've played this year. The Luggage says, your wife loves theme, but you look at the mechanics really. Or mechanisms, as I like to call them now. Yeah, I'm a mechanisms person as well, but the theme is what sometimes gets you in the door. The theme is the door opener, but it's the mechanisms behind the theme that matter. For example, Black Angel, the artwork on the front cover, the idea of the game that the human race has died off, and there's a spacecraft traveling to a new planet with all of the genes and the DNA, and it's being run by robots. Sounds really cool. The game itself is apparently a dry, boring Euro with no theme at all. That's fine with me. That's absolutely fine with me because I'm there for the mechanisms, and if the mechanisms are no good, I'm not interested in the game. Anyway, the question is, Rococo would be perfect, but it's out of print. Can you think of similar games that would be great for you? Oh, yes, please. In the chat, let me know. Games that have an appealing theme, but actually the game itself, the theme isn't really there. Excuse me, and it's all about the mechanisms. It's those Jaffa Cake bites, they're recurring on me. So, yeah, David is saying Grand Austria Hotel for a slick Euro with a pleasant theme and good at two-player. Yeah, it is good at two-player. And the theme is quite nice, and you're right, the game itself is really about the mechanisms. The theme doesn't really come across in the game. Like a lot of Euro games, they are just, oh, I'll go there and get 2 of these. What do those do? Well, you spend those to get those. Okay, you know, and in one game they're food, and in another game they're data chips, and it doesn't actually really matter in a lot of Euro games. Right, do you play any tabletop RPGs with miniatures? Not anymore. I played D&D for 25 years. Before I moved down to the southwest of England, I ran 2 weekly role-playing groups. So I was playing role-playing right up to when I moved down here. That was 10 years ago now. 11 years ago. 12 years ago. 12 years ago. It's coming up for 12 years ago now. So no, I haven't played any tabletop RPGs with miniatures, but I used to a lot. Now I play the board games instead. I much prefer the board games. How many games do you own, Paul? Good question, and let's go back to the questions that I've been asked beforehand, because Scott Milne wants to know how many games do I own. My Board Game Geek list, and you can go onto Board Game Geek, search for my username, which is very cleverly hidden so that nobody will ever guess what it is. It's Paul Grogan with no space. And you can have a look at my collection, but it's not completely up to date, like Sierra West that I keep lifting the rulebook up and pointing to, like this. It's probably not on my collection on BGG because I haven't kept it up to date. And occasionally I'll be browsing BGG and I'll be like, oh, wait a minute, I've had that game for 2 years and I've played it 6 times and I haven't clicked owned. It's probably about 450, 500, maybe, something like that. I have lost track. And the problem with BGG, I can't just say, according to BGG, I own this many games because I own Arkham Horror and all of the expansions. So as far as BGG is concerned, I own, my Arkham Horror collection is what, 30 games? I class it as one game. I've got everything for it, but I class it as one game, whereas BGG classes it as 30 games. I've got a promo tile. So on BGG, that's a separate entry and classes as an owned game. It's not a game, it's just a promo tile. But it's about 500, something like that. So that's answered the question on the live chat and has answered the question from Scott Milne on the Facebook group. Right. Anthony Ball says Coimbra, and I don't know what Coimbra is in answer to. If you're talking about a Euro game with a good theme, that's all about the mechanisms, I don't think Coimbra has a good theme. Coimbra is one of those classic Euros that is like, what we're doing? Oh, it's a medieval game in a European town where we're travelling around and we're, influencing nobles and things. Right, I love Coimbra. I think it's a great game, but theme-wise, it's like Caelus, one of my favourite games of all time. If you explain the theme of Caelus, oh yeah, well, it's set in the 13th century and you're in France and you're spending resources to build a castle for the king and we need, games like Black Angel or whatever with exciting themes to get people through the door, or Rococo, something that's a little bit unique and different. Something like Holding On, which is a game that I wasn't personally a big fan of for the game itself, but as far as the theme goes, very different. Does Coimbra have a theme? No. For me, and this is a whole extra discussion that can go on for 15 minutes, setting and theme are two different things. Coimbra has a setting. Does it have any theme? In other words, theme to me is, do the mechanisms within the game reflect on the setting? And they don't. In Coimbra, it's all Eurogame mechanisms. Nothing that happens in Coimbra really is thematically tied to the setting. So for me, Coimbra has no theme, but it has a setting. In fact, most games, unless it's abstract, has a setting. Anyway, Brussels 1893 is a kind of nice theme as well. I don't know about that one. Paul says, Nina says, when can she send me down to play with you guys again? When is the next GridCon and how are bookings going? So GridCon is my own convention that I am organising, which will be twice a year. GridCon 1 takes place in November this year, at the very end of November, in Devon, because it's Gaming Rules in Devon convention, which is what it is. We're pretty much sold out. If you want to come on the Friday, you can, but we are sold out of Saturday and Sunday tickets. We are meeting with the hotel next week and we're hoping to get an extra 2 rooms, which means we can sell some extra tickets and go up to 200 instead of 150. But if the logistics don't work, I'm concerned by the logistics. If the car park isn't big enough, if the kitchen isn't big enough to accommodate that many people, the other rooms are on the other side of the hotel. So we have logistical issues with, well, we're going to be over there. We're not going to be down there. We don't know. But anyway, GridCon is pretty much sold out. As for when she can send you down to play, you can come down anytime you want. Come down tomorrow. Right. Brandon Sanderson says, top games for this year are Fleet, the dice game, not played. Sierra West, very good. Magnastorm, good. Empires of the North, not really interested in that much. And Crown of Amara, which I've done a review of. And Crown of Amara is brilliant. So yeah. Right. Let's go back to questions that I had in advance. And this is from Mark Cook. What's your favourite Jaffa Cake themed game? And then there was a whole discussion about that. And I said there isn't one. And then somebody pointed to BGG where there was one. Apparently there's a game on BGG with Jaffa Cakes in. David Ellis wants to know, which game mechanism do you wish you could take from one game and implement into another? And that is a question that I wasn't able to answer because it's a really good question. Let me have a think about it. And talk to me when you next see me at a convention. Which game mechanism do I wish I could take from one game and implement into another? So, going back to the Pathfinder Adventure card game, the way the card system works in that game, the way that your deck works in that game, with the drawing of cards, your cards are your life, you can recharge cards, you can reload them, there's discards, there's recovery, there's healing, there's all of that. It's super clever. It's probably one of my favourite ways that a deck works within a game. I was talking to Andy on Wednesday about the Dresden Files cooperative card game. I'm a massive Dresden Files fan. The Dresden Files cooperative card game for me was really disappointing because it was too simple, and there was no theme in the game at all, and it was just play a green card, roll some dice, put some counters on a green card. Is there enough counters to get rid of it? Yes. Play a red card to put some counters on a red card. Is there enough to get rid of it? Yes. The fact that the red card is a monster, it's a vampire, and the green card is an obstacle is irrelevant. You're just putting cards, you're playing cards, rolling dice, and putting counters on until the card's got enough. And that's pretty much it. It is a very short, quick, playable game that plays in about like half an hour, whereas the Pathfinder game takes ages to play. I say ages, it's probably quicker once you get to know it. And something Andy mentioned is, because Andy was around on Wednesday and we played the Pathfinder adventure card game, and he basically said, oh yeah, I can see how this is a lot more complex. But we're talking changing the complete game, but a Dresden Files card game that had enough meat and complexity into it. So yeah, that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to take the Pathfinder mechanisms and turn them into a Dresden File setting. So there we go. Right, I did answer the question. Rick said, when is random, too random? And again, I'll refer back to the Pathfinder adventure card game, which is massively random, which is too random, but it's a cooperative game, so I kind of don't mind it. Now, games like Pandemic is random. You can lose Pandemic even before you've taken a move. Because you shuffle the cards, and the order of those cards could mean that game is impossible. Ghost Stories is nigh on impossible. Robinson Crusoe is actually a lot more random than I think people think it is, but it is. When he's random, too random. In a Euro game or a competitive game, I don't like massive random elements in a competitive game. In a cooperative game, I don't mind it too much. I'm a different person now than I was 5 years ago or 10 years ago, so I'm a lot more tolerant of it. Snakes and Ladders is probably when random is too random, when it's all about the random and there's nothing else really in there. James Kenny says, I've got wood for sheep. Is it still funny? Yes, it is still funny. If no, was it ever funny? Well, it is still funny. Yes, wood for sheep is funny. Right, we are 5 to 7. I'm going to quickly do another shout out for the competition. If you are watching this live, send me an email before the end of the show. If you send me an email in a week's time when you're watching this back afterwards, please don't send me an email. Send me an email right now, paul.grogan@outlook.com, and say either the chosen one or the claw, which is I think what these guys say in the Toy Story movie. If you're a patron supporter, please mention that in the email and you will get 2 entries into the competition instead of 1. And 1 lucky winner will get £25 worth of games vouchers from Games Law. Thank you very much to Games Law for sponsoring the show. By basically giving away £25 worth of vouchers to a lucky winner, as long as you promise to buy a good game with it. Right, Stephen Taylor, being serious, he says, are there any 2 games that you wish you could combine, taking the mechanisms from one and the theme stroke art from another to make a far superior game? Oh, well, you're being a bit specific there, Stephen. As I mentioned earlier on, if you were to take a lot of the mechanisms from the Pathfinder adventure card game and make a Dresden File card game, then that would be great. But if you're talking about artwork, I think the artwork in the Dresden Files card game is awful. I really don't like it. And the fact that the card artwork is repeated and the graphic design is very, very simplistic. Yeah, I'm not too keen on that game. Anyway, so games that I could combine, mechanisms from one and the theme and art from another. I mean, there's so many games out there with great artwork that, in my opinion, are terrible games. They're just games which I wouldn't play, but the artwork's nice. Because, when you're going on Kickstarter, it's not the game that sells it. It's whether the artwork is good. And there's a lot of games out there, as I say, with great artwork that are just not good games. It's a good answer for the chat. If we're talking combining 2 games, I did have an answer for this, but it doesn't actually answer your question, so I'm not going to mention that. Right. Yeah, answers in the chat or on the BGG Guild afterwards. What 2 games would you combine, taking the mechanisms from one and the theme and art from another? So find a game that's got good theme and good art, but you don't like because of the mechanisms, and then take the other mechanisms and put it in there. Right. Peter Gray wants to know, is there a game that you've been excited about before release, which on paper should be great, but once you play it, it hasn't been that great? And I have a few. And the first one Vicky reminded me about is Android. The original game, which is the setting now for Android Netrunner, but the original Android game, excited before release, absolutely, totally and utterly excited beyond measure for that game. On paper, should have been great. It's awful. It's an awful game. It takes forever. It's totally and utterly broken. It's a game which looks like it had zero development work on it because it is totally broken. One of the areas of the game is just totally broken and worth so many more points than the others. There's a couple of bits that just do not work. And in fact, when the game came out, I was very vocal about the way that the turn order system worked. The designer of the game, when he released the first FAQ for the game shortly after it came out, used my house rule for the turn order rule as the main rule of the game. I think he realised that, oh yeah, actually that is broken and that doesn't work. Quickly, let's change it. So really, really disappointed with that game. I have house ruled it to the nth degree to make it playable, but it's still too long. But the setting of the game, the theme of the game should have been great. City of the Big Shoulders, potentially. I'm not going to say I was excited about it before release, but on paper, I was thinking that this was going to be good. But then, you say on paper, the rulebook wasn't great. But I liked the idea of it. And the other one, and I'm mentioning it for the 17th time, this Q&A, this live Q&A is not sponsored by Paizo, but the Pathfinder Adventure card game. When the first edition came out, I was excited. I was absolutely like frothing at the mouth over this game because I hadn't played D&D for about 5 years, and this was going to be D&D as a card game, and I'd read the rules. And as I've mentioned, the card mechanism system in the game is amazing and fantastic. And I read it and I was like, wow, this is going to be incredible. This is going to be amazing. And then we sat down and we played it and I was like, this is one of the worst experiences I've ever had with the game. Now, as I've mentioned earlier on, my tastes have changed over the years and I'm now playing a lot of the second edition and I'm liking it. And is that because the game has completely changed from first to second edition? No. The fundamental points of why I didn't like the first edition are still there. I've just changed as a person and I've changed to what I've come to accept. But those problems that were there back then are still there now. And I absolutely detested that when the game came out. I apologise to Marcus and Andrew and the people I played with that night at Clifton Road Games because I flipped the table. I was like, this is awful. And they enjoyed it. And that was the problem. Is it's okay for me to say, oh, I didn't really enjoy that game if others didn't enjoy the game, but they did and I didn't. And I kind of went on a bit of a rant about it. And I feel my rant about it is still justified. You fight a monster, the monster doesn't have any treasure. Where's the treasure? It's lying around and you've got to roll the dice to see whether you pick it up or not. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit within, in D&D, you kill monsters and the monsters have treasure. You don't kill monsters and not get anything and then the treasure's lying around and you've got to roll to see whether you can pick up the sword or not. That's not how it works. But anyway, same problems with the second edition. Right, let's go back to the live chat as we've got a few questions left. Yeah, we might be on for a 7:30 finish. Hopefully we are. Right. Whew. Take a break. Have a drink. Have a Jaffa cake. I really should contact Mike Vitties about getting sponsorship. Right, Chris says, I have a liking for things such as 11s, serving tea, tussie mussy, I don't know what that is, flower posse, I'm keeping an eye on rare roses, being a... Right, I have no idea what you're on about, Chris. I'm sorry. He's just quoted a load of words that I don't understand. Anyway, Rick says Reavers. And again, I'm not sure what that is in answer to. So yeah, let me know why you said Reavers. I mean, it's a game that I've enjoyed. But anyway, yeah, let me know. Giovanni says, hello Giovanni, what would you rather do? Eat Stroop waffles or play a Splotter? That is possibly the stupidest question that I have been asked all week. Stroop waffles are amazing, and I would always eat Stroop waffles. And a top tip for those of you who like Stroop waffles, if you drink hot drinks, put the Stroop waffle over your hot cup of tea or coffee for a minute, and then eat it. It just melts the caramel a little bit. Stroop waffles are fantastic. Splotter games... I like some Splotter games. I do like Roads and Boats, but it's long, it's fiddly, it's messy, the rules are not clear, it's very expensive, and the components are awful. But it's logistics and it's pick up and deliver, sort of. There are a number of Splotter games that are good. Is it Great Zimbabwe is good, but Food Chain Magnate I didn't get on with. Splotter games are very, very clever. They have a very unique design, but I would always eat Stroop waffles. Right. Brant says, I highly encourage you to try Fleet, the dice game. Doesn't like roll and writes, but it's more of an engine building Euro than a roll and write. Brilliant, and you taught Isaac Childress and he loved it. Well, if Isaac loved it, I'll give it a go. Rick says, are there any non-legacy games that you would think would work in the legacy format? Oh my. I mean, legacy format or campaign format, because there is a difference. Legacy being specifically you physically alter components, whereas a campaign format is just as an ongoing story. I mean, I would say practically anything can get turned into a mode with a campaign mode, but they tried to do that with Blackout Hong Kong, and I think it failed. I think Blackout Hong Kong was just a series of 5 slightly variant scenarios, and there wasn't really a campaign mode. It wasn't really a story. That was disappointing. Yeah, not sure. Non-legacy games that you think would work in the legacy format. Yeah, right. How about an Arkham Horror living card style game set in Star Wars or Star Trek? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, a cooperative card game like the Arkham Horror living card game, which is a little bit... I mean, the Arkham Horror living card game took things from lots of other games. It took a lot from Warhammer Quest. It took things from Netrunner. But yeah, using those mechanisms within a game set in Star Wars or Star Trek... That'd be quite cool. Yeah, I think we need a Star Wars or Star Trek adventure game. All the Star Wars and Star Trek card games we've got are all mainly fighting and things like that. So yeah, that would be quite cool. Like a cooperative adventure game set in the Star Wars or Star Trek universe. That would be good. Chris says odd themes in games, which is probably in reply to my question from earlier where I was asking what you were asking about. Oh, odd themes in games. Right, 11's is serving tea. Being a florist. Are you a florist then? If you are, I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know. So let me know if you're a florist. That's cool. Co-in is here. Damn it, I'm late. Hi, Paul. Hello. Don't worry. You can go and watch it back and answer and see all of my answers to my other questions later on. Giovanni says you'll get me some Stroop waffles in Essen. Thank you very much. They will definitely get eaten. Also, use your connections to get a Star Trek LCG done already. Or maybe I should do one myself. I mean, WizKids have got the Star Trek license, have they? Who's got the Star Trek license for cards? I don't know. Maybe nobody has. Tussie Mussy is a micro game, 18 cards, with an I split you choose mechanism. I don't like those. I don't like those because they're too clever for me. I can never do the right thing. 2 to 4 People by Elizabeth Hargrave and published by Buttonshy. Ah, right, okay, yes. So I know that Buttonshy have done a game by Elizabeth Hargrave. I didn't realise what it was called. Cool, right. You're not, the game has you being. You're not a florist. Well, I'm disappointed now. Right, back to the questions. Mark Capel-Helm says, what is the one game you were most excited to get? Personal, not working, that when you played it was not good. Oh, that's the question that I was talking earlier on. Yes, right, sorry. Mark, I've answered your question when I was talking about Peter Gray's thing, a game I was excited about on release. So I've talked about that. Also, what game were you not expecting much from that when you played, you just went, wow, this is fun? There's been a few of them recently. I mean, Crown of Amara, people had said it was good, but then when I played it, it was really good. Sierra West, people had said was good, and I played it last night, and it was really good. So there's been a few which I'd heard were good, but then I still enjoyed it more than I did. But I've had a good year for playing games. A lot of games that I've played this year have been very, very good, and I've really enjoyed them. So it's a tricky one because there's been a lot. John Sullivan says, what's the best thing that you have ever gotten to bling out a game? And what is the cheapest thing that you've gotten to bling out a game? So I don't really bling out my games much because, I'll play them 4 or 5 times and then, you know, even if they're good games, I've got so many games that I need to play for work reasons, review reasons, and everything else, that it's just a shame. I mean, Barrage, I could go back now and bling out Barrage with some fancy bits and extra stuff. How many more times am I going to play Barrage when I've got a list of 10 games that I need to be playing this month or next month? You know, Anachrony is fantastic, and I want to paint the miniatures in it. But how many times am I actually going to be playing Anachrony? And it's going to take me months to paint the miniatures, or I could pay somebody a couple of £100 to paint the miniatures, and then they'd look fantastic. But I'm not going to be playing it. If I'm going to be playing it, you know, 20, 30, 40 times because it's my favourite game and I only have 20 games in my collection, then yeah, but I don't get to play many games. So when I went to Gen Con, Patrick Olmsted, who is a friend of mine in America, he's a patron supporter as well. Thank you very much, Patrick. He's 3D printed a load of pieces for Gloomhaven. I now have loads of Gloomhaven 3D printed pieces. Thank you very much, Patrick. That's probably the most bling that I will have for a game. I mean, in the past, I used to bling out games, but I just don't have. I don't have time now. What's the cheapest thing you've gotten to bling out a game? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah, and as I say, I don't bling out games that much. Right, few more questions that we had in on the UK Facebook group beforehand. John Sullivan, what's your opinion of the Sleeping Gods Kickstarter? I am aware that there is a game coming out called Sleeping Gods. That's it. I don't know much more about it, and it was 10 to 6 when I read that question and I didn't have time to go and look at it. But Sleeping Gods, is that the new game by Cool Mini or not? If it is, I was super, super excited, and I actually contacted them because I wanted to give it some coverage. If it is that one, and they didn't really get back to me. So, yeah. Right, Paul says, Paul Bryant from Gameslaw says, 3 friends are popping over for supper and a game. Let's call them Vlaja, Vittel and Richard. And you've got time for one lengthy game, and they ask you to choose one of their designs. Which game do you choose and what's for supper? It would probably be Through the Ages. Out of Vlaja, Vittel and Richard, I mean, I like a lot of their games, but if you said lengthy, I would have to go with Through the Ages. So a 4-player game of Through the Ages, me, Vlaja, Vittel Lacerda, Richard Breeze. That's what we would do. In terms of what's for supper, I would leave it up to Vicky to cook. I mean, an English person, a Portuguese person, a Czech person. I don't know. So it would have to be something Mediterranean, but also with dumplings and lots of gravy for me and Richard. There we go. Kevin Shaw says, I'd like to see CGE make other games based in the Galaxy Trucker universe. Do you think this is a good idea? What do you think the chances of it happening are? I actually think it's a good idea because I think the Galaxy Trucker universe is hilarious. I mean, it has been very popular, which is why Galaxy Trucker has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 expansions. And there's a novel as well. So if you're interested, Jason Holt did a novel, a Galaxy Trucker novel, Rocky Road, that's really good. Do I think the chances of any other games in the Galaxy Trucker universe? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what would fit in the Galaxy Trucker universe. Also, I work for CGE and I'm privy to a lot of secret information that I can't talk about. So if I did know there was something happening, I wouldn't be able to say. Wink, wink. Dean Stephen, do you play many games solo? And what is your favourite solo game? So Dean, you need to go back to one of my podcasts from last year. Wow, I think it was last year. I can't remember which podcast it was, but it's about solo games. I had Travis Hill on, who is a big solo gamer. I also had Ricky Royal as a guest appearance and Steve Manser, they all play a lot of solo games, and we talked about solo games and why I don't play them. Saying that, in the last month, I've been playing a lot of solo games and I've been live streaming them. So go back and listen to the podcast because I think it's a good podcast. I think it's an interesting listen. But I have now been playing a lot of them. The main reason is I want to do more live streaming. I like live streaming, playing games. I wanted to do lots of live stream testing because I have had lots of technical issues for those people who've watched some of my earlier live streams. Thankfully, those technical issues have all now been resolved. But I wanted to do lots of live streams to sort out the technical issues. I had some games that I wanted to play. I wasn't able to sort of like say to people, oh, come round for the afternoon and play games, because I only had like an hour or two to play and then I had to get back to work. So by necessity, I've sort of fallen into playing quite a lot of solo games recently, and I've been enjoying it more than I expected I would. But as you will see from my recent Pathfinder playthrough, oh, there you go, I mentioned it again, I made a ton of mistakes because there's a dozen things to remember. And if we were playing 3-player, that remembering those things would be shared out. And in a solo game, I'm like, I have a brain fade for a minute and I'm like, whose turn was it? Where are we up to? What am I in the middle of? And I forget, and then I can't ask anybody else. So I do get flustered in solo games and I make lots of mistakes, and that makes me feel uncomfortable. Don't like making mistakes. Philip Byrne, have you noticed recently several of your playthroughs or reviews of games have dice mechanism elements in them? For example, Outer Rim, stroke Pathfinder. Philip said it, not me. Wonder what your thoughts would be on continuing this, but playing or reviewing a couple more games that say use more dice, such as Role Player or Too Many Bones. I'm not sure what that question means, because you're right, I am playing more games with dice in. What are your thoughts on continuing this? Well, I am planning on continuing it. I am planning on continuing the Pathfinder card game. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 scenarios left. I have like another 30 hours of streaming to do for the Pathfinder game, and that's just for the first campaign. I've also got the expansion set, which is what, 18 scenarios or something crazy? I literally 50, 60 hours of content for that. More. So yeah, I'm planning on doing that. And I'm planning on doing whatever games take my fancy. So if they've got dice in them, great. He's mentioned Role Player or Too Many Bones. Too Many Bones, as soon as I learn how to play, and I have tried playing that game 3 times, and every time I've tried playing it, we have put the game away because I've got to a point where I don't know what I'm doing. The rulebook's terrible. And yeah, I basically need David Ellis to come round and teach me how to play Too Many Bones. Or Ricky Royals promised to come round as well. And then we'll do a live stream. Yeah, that's it. David, get yourself over here now. I'll cancel everything I was doing tomorrow. We can play Too Many Bones tomorrow, live on camera with you teaching me. Sorted. Sorry, Vicky, I'm busy now tomorrow. Right. Francisco wants to know, is bringing a Portuguese cinnamon cake appropriate to a board game convention? Right. Bringing Portuguese cinnamon cakes to a board game convention is totally out of order, unless the convention happens to be called GridCon, in which case you definitely need to bring some. Absolutely. In fact, it should be mandatory. Everybody coming to GridCon must turn up with a Portuguese cinnamon cake. There you go. Right. Let's go back to the chat. That is it for all of the questions that I had in advance. Thank you very much. Oh. Right. Rick said you've painted the cyclers in Flamme Rouge. Yes, so going back to blinging games, I have been on a bit of a painting binge recently. I used to like painting. I didn't paint for years. I've started painting again. The problem is I'm getting old and my eyesight's going. And it's getting worse and worse on a weekly basis or monthly basis, whatever, daily basis. So the plus 3.5 glasses that I had for painting, which were perfectly fine a year ago, now I put those glasses on and I'm still holding it here, which is too far away. So even now I'm wearing these powerful glasses, well, they're 3.5s, and I'm still having struggle painting, and that's really frustrating me. I don't like the fact that I can't see properly. And I know I should just get a better glasses or a bigger magnifying glass, but yeah, I am painting these Red Alert miniatures at the moment, but it's not going too well. So yeah, so my Flamme Rouge miniatures, I'm really happy with them. And they're pretty much finished. Yeah, really happy with them. Toby says, would you consider some form of charity raffle for some of your giant games collection which you no longer get around to playing? That's exactly what I'm doing. So yeah, would I consider some form of charity raffle? It's exactly what I'm doing. In November at GridCon, I am doing a charity raffle. That charity raffle is being supported by lots of games publishers that are giving me games to give away. But I am also giving away some of my older games, which I no longer want. I'm never going to play them again. They're taking up space and they are going to go into the raffle. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I could put them into bring and buys and make £10 or £20. I'd prefer to raise money for charity. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, Toby. It's a good suggestion, but I'm already one step ahead of you. A number of my old games will be going into the charity raffle. I mean, for a start, some games that I was given review copies of are going into charity raffles. And I don't want to get too into this, but there are certain people, and I won't name who, but they get given review copies of games and then they sell them. And there is a train of thought on this that they reviewed the game. They put hours and hours and hours into reviewing the game. They didn't get paid any money for reviewing the game, so them selling their game is then theirs. If they sell that game to somebody for X amount of money, that it should be classed as payment, and that's fine. And if that's what those people think, and other people agree with that, that's fine. To me, that's wrong. But I'm not going to stand on a hill and shout about it. For me personally, I wouldn't do that because for me it feels wrong. If they want to do it and it's fine with them, that's fine. What I feel is wrong is getting given a review copy of a game, not playing it, not giving any coverage of it, and then selling it or putting it into a bring and buy and making money off it when you haven't given it any coverage. That's wrong. There we go. I've said it. It happens. I know it happens, and it's wrong. And I don't do that. It's just wrong. So yes, charity raffle. That's what I'm going to do. Right. Sleeping Gods is the new Red Raven game. Trudvang Legends was the Cool Mini or Not Kickstarter. Right. Sleeping Gods, Red Raven. Oh, Red Raven. Ryan Lockett. Sleeping Gods. Rado did a thing about it, and I watched his final thoughts, and he said it's amazing. So I don't know much about it. I've played one Ryan Lockett game, Above and Below, and I wasn't that impressed by it, to be honest. They look nice. Oh no, 8 Minute Empires is as well, which is really good for a quick game. Going back to quick games that are a bit thinky that I like playing. 8 Minute Empire. It's not got much thinking in it, but it's quite good. And it doesn't take 8 minutes, it takes 15. I'm going to sue him for Trade Description Act, I think. Giovanni says, you have no friends, so you either play solo or hire people to play with you. Oh, you can hire people to play games with you. Ooh, cool. Well, if you want to play any asynchronous games with us, let us know. Because we're playing a lot of games on Board Game Arena or Boîte à Jeux or Yucata. If you want to play some games with us, asynchronous, then let us know. Please play Too Many Bones tomorrow, James. Yeah, Too Many Bones. I want to love that game, and I think I will love that game. It looks fantastic. The people I've spoken to that have played it said it's great. The component quality is great. I know the guys who work at Chip Theory Games. Andrew now recognises me from the back of my head. And I really want to like the game. But unplayable from the rulebook. And if you don't think it's unplayable from the rulebook, I've tried 3 times and I've put the game away each time. But I really, really want to play it. Can we remotely enter the GridCon raffle? Some of you are stuck at work. I've actually talked to people about this. If I make the GridCon raffle, if I advertise all of the games that are in the raffle, and I open it up to other people as well, and I advertise it on Twitter and social media and Facebook and the Board Game Trading in Chat Facebook group, I will make a ton more money for charity. Right? That's just a fact. If I limit it to only the people at GridCon, I'm probably going to make about £500, maybe £1,000. I don't know. Depends how generous people are. But if I open it up to the masses, I might make £2,000, £3,000, £4,000. I could, and that would be great. But the logistics of then having to post those games out to people is days and days of work, and I don't have that time. So it's going to be tricky. So my other thinking was you can enter the charity raffle at GridCon if you're not at GridCon, but you have to have a nominated person who is at GridCon who will pick up the game for you. That's what I'm thinking about. So for David, somebody like you, absolutely. I'm sure we can do it. If you want to put £5 into the charity raffle, we can work that out somehow. And as long as you can nominate somebody who's going to be there to pick up the prize for you, that's what I'm thinking of. Can we remote? Toby says, will the GridCon tickets raffle only be available to those at GridCon? Same question as David. Yes. Any thoughts on Tapestry? Yes. I've already answered that. So if you watch this live Q&A back, I've already talked about Tapestry. And Lone Jedi says, some of us are on the wrong continent. Yes, unfortunately, I would not really be able to. Well, if you're in Portugal, then great. because you could just contact Vital Lacerda, who's coming to GridCon, and say, "Oi, Vital, if I win something, can you bring it back to Portugal with me?" That might work. Anyway, we are at 19:23. I said it was going to be about an hour and a half, and we're at about an hour and a half. If you are watching this live, thank you very much. We've had loads of people in the chat. We've had loads of questions. It's been a really good Q&A. I've really enjoyed it. Although I did have a coffee beforehand, and I don't drink coffee anymore. So it's probably that. That's probably why I'm buzzing a bit. One last chance to enter the contest. If you are watching this live, you have 5 more minutes. Send me an email, paul.grogan@outlook.com. Put in the email, the claw, which is a reference to this t-shirt that I'm wearing. And if you are a Patreon supporter, please mention that in the email as well, and you will get 2 entries into the competition instead of 1. Quick shout out to my Patreon. For those people who are watching this who are not Patreon supporters of mine, a lot of the stuff that I do is not commissioned work. It is purely funded through my Patreon campaign. And by supporting the show, you're going to basically see more content. And you have seen, hopefully, in the last couple of weeks, the amount of extra content that I am putting out, which is not sponsored whatsoever. I am doing that purely funded through my Patreon campaign. So if you want to support my Patreon and help keep the show going and help make more content, the Patreon money is directly going into doing that. It's paying for the extra kit for me to be able to do it, and it's paying for a lot of my time. Of course, what that does mean is I am taking time away from doing rulebooks and tutorial videos, unfortunately. Now, I'm still doing them, but it's one of those things. If you like what I do because you like my rulebook work and my tutorial videos, then sponsoring my Patreon is actually going to make me do less of that work. But that's the way it is. Anyway, some of us are on the 7th continent. 7th continent. There's a game I need to play again before I then sell it. Playing Ecos. You're playing Ecos. Anyway, 5 minutes more left. If you've got any questions, fire them in the chat. Or if you want me to talk about anything at all. And then I'm going to go for curry. We're having a chicken tikka masala. Hopefully it's ready. Then what am I doing tonight? I'm sleeving the cards for a certain card game that I've mentioned 23 times already. And I won't mention it again. But the blue sleeves arrived today from GamesLaw. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, there was a printing problem between the cards from the base set and the expansion set. The backs are very different. You can easily tell them apart. And there are certain times in the game where seeing the card backs is really important. So I did buy 500 clear sleeves and I sleeved all the cards in clear sleeves. Then I realised the problem. I've de-sleeved all the cards and now I'm re-sleeving them in blue sleeves. And then I'm going to prepare the next scenario. So what that means is I'm going to spend my time tonight probably watching a couple of episodes of Star Trek Discovery, sleeving my cards, rebuilding the 3 decks from the game on Friday after the scenario, preparing the cards for the next scenario, and that means my addiction to that game and my excitement for that game is going to come right back, which means I'm going to wake up early tomorrow morning, and then I might do another live stream of Pathfinder tomorrow morning before Vicky gets up, because, that's what I might do. Anyway, Toby says, last question, are you excited for Tabletop Gaming Live? Is that a trick question? Tabletop Gaming Live last year was the easiest convention that I have ever worked at. And CGE probably don't want to hear this, but I was honest with them. I gave my report to CGE. So at Tabletop Gaming Live last year, I worked 100% for CGE. We had 2 tables in the Asmodee demo area. And I took, what did I take? Trap Words and Pulsar 2849. The footfall at Tabletop Gaming Live last year was a lot less than expected. It was extremely quiet. And a lot of booths were extremely quiet and were very, very unhappy, very disappointed. A lot of exhibitors were really angry about it and are definitely not going back this year. Whereas other people at Tabletop Gaming Live had a good show. Toby, did you have a good show? Did Oink Games have a good show at Tabletop Gaming Live last year? I know you're going back this year, but yeah, did you have a good show? Because Alley Cat Games were really busy. Fantasy Flight Games, the Asmodee area that did all the Fantasy Flight Games stuff, they were really busy. The Warhammer Champions were really busy. Mythic Games were really busy. One Free Elephant, really quiet, and people packed up and they went home. So for me, I was really quiet. I probably did about 4 hours demoing a day. I mean, normally when I go to conventions, I'm demoing non-stop, like 9-10 hours straight, and it's massively busy. This one, probably even about 3 hours, because it was just so quiet and there was hardly anybody there. So yeah, it was really, really quiet. David Ellis has just got here. What did I miss? Can you start from the top? We have spoken about you loads, David. I thought you were going to be watching it. So yeah, you need to go back and watch it. Probably go 30 minutes back. Because I talked about you and Too Many Bones. You basically, in summary, you're coming round here tomorrow, and we're playing Too Many Bones. Yeah, it's all been agreed. It's all been decided upon. You weren't here to say no. Anyway, Tabletop Gaming Live. So, am I excited about Tabletop Gaming Live? So, I'm looking forward to it in a way, because if it's busy, great. I get to demo Letter Jam all day, every day. Letter Jam's fantastic. I love demoing it. So, I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to the fact that it might actually be quiet and that I will get time to speak to people that I enjoy speaking to. So for me personally, without my CGE hat on, if I only end up demoing 50% of the time and then spend the rest of the time talking to people who I get on with, fine, I'm happy. From a CGE perspective, it really needs to be busy constantly for it to be worthwhile. I'm going because I said to CGE last year was a bit of a washout and we weren't really that busy, but I don't want to quit an event after one. I want to go back. I want to give them a second chance. And if this year's just as bad, I'm not going to go back again. But if this year changes and I didn't give them that chance, so I'm going to give them a second chance. They are doing things a lot better. I know that they've got a proper games library this year, whereas last year they just had a pile of 12 games, whatever. But I think they are not doing a very good job of marketing it or advertising it yet again. I just don't think they understand how it works. They're not advertising it in the places that I think it should be advertised. I'm not seeing anybody really talking about it apart from people like me and Toby who are going and we're talking about it. So it might be the same again. It might be 2,500 people again. It might be more, it might be less. I don't know. And if it is quiet again, then I am going to have to recommend to CGE, it is not worth our time going back. Now, if another publisher wants me to go there, great. But I'm actually trying to cut down on the amount of times I'm away from home, because for me, I have to do all the preparation, I have to do all the planning, I have to book all of the space, I have to talk to Asmodee about it, I have to get helpers, I have to book the hotel, I have to spend the Friday getting there, it's 2 days of work. I get paid for being there. It's not about the money, it's about time away. Then I get back, I'm tired, I get back 11 o'clock on the Sunday night, I've not seen Vicky all weekend, it's another weekend I've gone. And when you're going to 16 conventions a year, which is what I'm doing this year, some of which are a week long, all of that is taking me away from doing the other stuff. So yeah, anyway, Toby says, we didn't stop the whole event, but costs are high, which was our problem. Yeah, I know they were charging a lot for the exhibitors' booths, which was our problem. We'll be there again though. We have adjusted our costs. Yeah, I think you said you're not staying on site. You're all sleeping in somebody's spare room or something like that, or you're taking it in shifts. But so you're going to be there. You're going to be there again, which is good. Right, Too Many Bones and Pathfinder tomorrow. Yes, you're in. I really want to play Pathfinder again tomorrow because I failed that scenario. So strictly speaking, you should replay it. I kind of don't want to. I kind of want to just move on to the next scenario and pretend that I completed it. But that's cheating. So I am going to replay it. But I don't want to have to get into the cycle of keep replaying the same scenario multiple times until I do it. There's a lot in the magazine. Yeah, so Rick's saying there's a lot of advertising for Tabletop Gaming Live in the Tabletop Gaming magazine. But what if you don't read the magazine? Where are they posting on Facebook, Twitter? I'm not seeing any of that. You get a free ticket if you're a subscriber. Yeah, because they need people to come through the door. It's like where I was with Ting. With 2 weeks to go with Ting and we'd only sold 70 or 80 tickets, I was offering free tickets away because I was pretty desperate and I just wanted, at that point, I wanted people through the door. And they've done the same thing. David's going to be there with Alicat Games, hopefully showing off Chocolate Factory. Yes. So you should have a good weekend. As I say, Alley Cat Games last year, they had Dice Hospital and they were busy. I went over a couple of times. All the tables were constantly busy with people playing games. So for Alley Cat Games, it was really good, and you should be fine. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was the location I was in. Maybe it was the fact that we didn't have a CGE booth. Maybe it was me. I don't know. We will see. Anyway, we are over time now. It is now 19:34. Thank you very much to everybody in the chat. This has been really, really good fun. I've really enjoyed this. And yeah, thank you very much to all of my Patreon supporters that basically make all of this possible. If it weren't for the support of the Patreon campaign, I would not be giving up, the 2 hours of my personal time to do this on a Saturday. I would be downstairs sleeving cards instead, which is obviously... Oh, Barry's going to be there with Alley Cat Games as well. Cool. So Alley Cat Games have got Barry, David, probably Zoe as well, I guess. But yeah, the Alley Cat Games demo team, I can personally vouch for them. And I'm saying that because David basically bribed me in Jaffa Cakes to say that he's really good. He doesn't know it yet, but I'm expecting some Jaffa Cake nibbles from you, David. There you go. That's the price. Right, anyway. Nilsson says they are posting on Facebook, not sure about Twitter. Okay. Facebook algorithms are not showing it to me. But yes, we'll see. I know you're going to be there, Nilsson, so yeah, which reminds me, anybody going to Tabletop Gaming Live? Friday night I'm going to be there. I can't remember where I'm staying. I'm staying in a little hotel that's west of Alexandria Palace. So it's not in Wood Green, it's west of Alexandria. Saturday night we need to get together. Food, drink, beer, chat. Let's do it. Saturday night. Let's arrange it. Yeah, we'll talk about it on the Slack channel. If you're not on the Slack channel, drop me a Facebook message or something like that. We are going to do something. I just haven't picked anywhere yet, and we probably should get somewhere picked, and we should probably book a table. In fact, I went somewhere last year that was pretty nice, if I can remember what it was called, and let's go there again. Anyway, I'm going to disappear now. Thank you very much to everybody for watching. I'm going to try and activate the end credits and see if I get this working. It's been a pleasure. And if I do some live streaming tomorrow, which I really want to do, I will see some of you tomorrow. Other than that, I'll speak to you next time. Take care, everybody. Thank you very much.
Gaming Rules is proudly sponsored by Game Toppers, upgrading your gaming experience. Visit GameToppersLLC.com.